bad man.
That's a bad man.
He is a bad, bad man.
You're a bad man. You're a very bad man.
But in the end, you have saved face because you have recognized officially who the baddest man happens to be. Now you go ahead and
Can I get an amen?
All right, we're here for the second episode of the Bad Man Podcast. I'm Mark, and here we have Anthony.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going good. All right, so we missed last week, but we wanted to talk a little bit about the All-Star Weekend and what should be done with it. So one thing that really stuck out to me, the dunk contest was embarrassing.
That format is just terrible. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't win a dunk contest with one dunk.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think they're trying to cater to sort of the superstar mentality, trying not to hurt anyone's brand by not having it be so competitive. But still, there was a winner, and they're referring to John Wall as the winner. So it's not like he'll be remembered as the 2014 dunk contest winner, the dunk contest champion. And it's just that we only got to see him dunk once.
It's a joke. Like, we've seen how many times with the dunk contest, you usually have 4 dunks. Whoever has the 4 best usually wins, unless it's a popularity contest and somebody gets slated. But you shouldn't be able to win off of one dunk.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the fan vote.
I hate the fan vote.
Everybody hates the fan vote.
They should remove it because they're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we talked about this in the last podcast that when Kobe was voted in. Thank God he was taken over. But
like I guess social media and how it's useful, but some of these people, yeah, I'm not a fan.
Mm-hmm. All right, so and what was your take on the freestyle dunk?
I actually like that.
Portion.
That was creative, but
He did.
I guess the stipulation should be higher or something different rather than just you pick the order of who goes where.
Yeah, it felt kind of messy to me.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I'm a big fan of those NBA street games.
Yeah.
And it reminded me kind of one of those game breakers where you have 3 guys passing the ball off the rim. And in that sense, it was kind of cool. But it was just a minute of dunk after dunk. And it lacked the drama that... I mean, you think about Dwight Howard, the Superman dunk. Like, was that really a great dunk? All he did was catch the ball up high and throw it down the hoop, but it was that anticipation that really gets people off their feet, and there was none of that this year.
I mean, the East did it justice, the freestyle, because they actually got creative. The West was a cluster. Like, I don't know what they were trying to do. It looked so awful.
How did any of those guys get invited?
Harrison Barnes, that was
Harrison Barnes, that was embarrassing. Yeah,
that was cringeworthy. I felt bad for him. I felt bad for 2K because they had the 2K guy setting everything up, and then they showed the dunk on the video, and it's not even the same dunk he did.
Yeah, and then they have the guy tapping this blank iPad. Yeah, very stylish. But I mean, he didn't even really care. He had Nick Cannon having to remind him that it was his turn.
He looked nonchalant the whole time.
Yeah, and I think that happens. I think that's a product of the teams this year. I mean, not to say that it's been great these past couple of years, although I think it was 2008, Dwight's first win. I don't know if he's had more than one. I think it was just that one win. That was a good year. And this year with the format, it was a lot less competitive, and you sort of it was a little more lackadaisical, and you saw that with the skills competition too, which I actually didn't watch because I don't care about.
I watched it. It was like Reggie Jackson, he blew a first team.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I watched some of the highlights. But
Dragic, he put in the effort. He was going for it, and then you just see Reggie Jackson, too cool for school, just casually walking up, going to lay it in.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody likes a skills challenge as is, but you got to put some effort, at least make it entertaining somewhat.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about the shooting stars competition. I don't think that even the people in it, no one has ever been excited for that.
I mean, because it's always the same thing. They're making the shots, and there's like 30 seconds of people just hoisting up full half-court shots.
Yeah. That was like the most depressed audience I've ever seen in a professional sports route. I mean, and that's really the flagship event of the NBA. You always talk about All-Star Weekend.
There was
Nick
like
Cannon?
no energy. Nick Cannon, New Orleans, everything was just bad.
Yeah, all of it was terrible, but you can't really blame them. I mean, the dunk contest was one of the worst. Was it the worst dunk contest ever?
That or 2002 with the wheel. I forgot what it was called. It was just
I mean, I'm only
spin the wheel.
I'm only 20 years old, so that's about as far as my memory stretches.
Yeah.
The wheel was bad, and I can't tell you about the Dr. J did. I mean, everybody talks about the Dr. J dunk contest as being awesome, but maybe on down years. But this is bad, and there was no drama to it, and that's really all that it's about.
Yeah.
You have to have that narrative.
It was an anticlimactic ending. It was a sweep. It was like, okay, we're done. Well, all right. Let's go back to Nick Cannon to bore some more.
Let's say in best case scenario, everyone would have done 2 dunks. So that's the most everyone could have dunked.
Yeah. My biggest fear was I actually thought it would be like the 2 best dunks would come in the same battle, and everybody else would just suck.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And kind of thank God that it did end because it was terrible. And John Wall's was okay.
It wasn't the cleanest dunk, but he did it.
It wasn't the
take.
cleanest dunk. And the Paul George and I actually like the Damian Lillard dunk a lot.
Yeah, I didn't know about him.
The Paul George and Terrence Ross.
Yeah.
Those dunks, those were actually pretty nice. It's just they didn't do it on the first try, and like after you see him fail over and over again, I think something needs to be done there too.
It's because you can visualize it. You already know what he's gonna do. It's like, okay, I get the concept. Good job.
Yeah.
Go away.
And again, going back to the Superman dunk, because I think that that's really key to what the dunk contest can be. Because it's not so much about great technicality anymore. It's all about kind of getting the fans on their feet. And had Dwight missed that first dunk, nobody would have cared the second time.
It was like
But
Green
it was
with the
that
candle.
he did it on the first try. Right.
It was a basic 2-handed dunk. He just blew it out the candle. Like, okay, that's cool. And then he tried to do the under the leg with no shoes on. Nobody got it.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was awesome. I'm a huge fan of that dunk. My favorite event is always the celebrity game, and that's the only event. That's the only event that I'll watch with my eyes glued to the screen every year.
They gotta keep on bringing back Duncan. That guy is amazing.
Oh my God, yeah, that guy. Yeah, Clippers need a backup big. Yeah, that guy has some skill.
I'll take him over Jason Terry. Thank God Terry's gone.
Yeah, Jesus. All right, and I actually didn't watch the All-Star game, but I assume you did.
Yeah, I was watching.
All right, what was your take?
No defense. It was an All-Star game. Like, no defense.
Yeah.
Everybody's hosting up 3-pointers.
Yeah, but nobody watched the All-Star game to watch a defensive battle. This isn't Spurs Pistons in the finals.
Yeah, but a little effort. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it gets redundant just watching everybody just throw up 3. I don't know. At least dunk it every now and then. Somebody besides Blake.
I got you. Oh, I love Blake. I could watch him dunk all day. Maybe I should have watched this.
Yeah, that's all he did. Like the first quarter, he had like 18 points, just dunking and dunking and dunking and dunking.
Yeah. I heard he had a monster performance.
Yeah.
He's really come into his own. Blake, would you call, as far as the top power forwards in the league go, do you think that Blake might be creeping into the top 1 or 2 spot of that list?
But he was doing without Chris Paul. I'd have to consider it because
Mm-hmm.
he put the team on his back.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he's gotten a lot of flack, but he produces. I almost think he's more. I mean, he's got a huge body and he's extremely athletic. But let's say he's 6'8". He's 6'8". Doesn't he sort of have the game of a tweener? Just a little bit, and his jumpers started to come along, and that's helped him a lot. But he gets most of his he gets a lot of his offense off the dribble. And he's deadly off the dribble, probably the best big man in the league at beating people off the dribble. And he's great at finishing around the rim. He started his career a little unrefined, but he's turned into a pretty good post player.
Yeah, he's getting there. He still has a few more years to polish everything up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but he's shown great promise. I would take him over. I would take him over anyone that's not Anthony Davis if I'm starting a team.
Yeah. Him and Love would be like 2A, 2B. Davis is number one easily.
Yeah, Davis is tops in the league. I think LaMarcus Aldridge gets a little slept on here. I mean, because he's a top player in the NBA, leading one of the best teams. I mean, alongside he has some good teammates, a terrible bench, but I think that he should get a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, I mean, the structure of the Blazers offense is weird because they just take so many jumpers, but it works.
Yeah. And Dirk also, I forgot about Dirk. He's still killing it. He's 70 years old. Did he just turn 70? He might be 69 still, but I mean he's still deadly.
No regard for father time.
No regard for father time. Okay, so we've got a mailbag segment, new to the show. Probably going to do this for the next iterations. So if you have questions, send them in. First up is from DV, is Mimi. Is Carmelo on the Bulls a good fit hypothetically? What do you think?
I think it'd be a good fit if you could get Rose back healthy. You have no because Thibodeau's gonna be a defensive genius. He'll find the way to match this with his woes. He does it with Boozer. He could do it with Melo. I think it'd be a good fit. It put him top two in the East or top three with Indiana and Miami.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on Rose coming back at all.
That's the problem. You have to have Rose back.
You need to pair Carmelo up with a ball-dominant point guard. His usage percentage goes through the roof without him. He's seen the most success with Chauncey Billups, and he was great that year. I mean, he was a top 5 player in the NBA that year.
Yeah, they had a really strong year.
He was great. And he's had to take too much responsibility for himself while on the Knicks, and it's really I mean he doesn't get enough credit. Maybe from the general population who doesn't follow things so closely. But he's great. I mean, he's one of the top offensive players in the NBA still.
I mean, he's doing the best he can. Like, what do you expect when you have Felton as your point guard? You have Shumpert as your shooting guard. J.R. Smith as the sixth man. Chandler isn't what he once was.
Yeah, he's got trash around him. He's a great player. I think that if you argue that Kevin Love is a top 5 player, I would take Kevin Love over Carmelo. But if you're making the argument that Kevin Love is a top 5 player in the NBA with all his faults, I don't see a reason why you can't make a similar argument for Carmelo.
Yeah, you could. The only difference would be the age. I think Melo's approaching 30 already, but still.
We're just talking about for this season.
Overall, yeah, for the season, yeah.
I think he gets overlooked. I mean, he's been hyper efficient this year.
I'm surprised though by his performance in the crunch time. That's actually like amazing because in Denver he was so clutch. In New York he's been terrible.
Yeah. I thought you were saying he's been amazing, and I was sort of taken aback a little bit. Yeah, he's been bad in the clutch.
I remember watching the game against Sacramento, and he missed that shot bad. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought he would have made it in. Game over. Let's go home.
It is tough to justify him being even a top 10 player when they're not making the playoffs in the East. And it's not. I mean, he has garbage around him for teammates, but so do most other teams. The East is terrible.
I mean, there's very few players that can actually do anything with the team he has around them.
Mm-hmm.
And Woodson, I don't know what happened. I think he's done after the season. I can't see them bring him back.
There's no way that unless maybe they make a playoff run. But to answer the question, I do believe I believe that Melo is a better fit on the Bulls than he is on the Knicks. If Rose comes back strong, that'll be key, and then they could really. I mean, Joakim Noah is, in my opinion, a top 2 or 3 center in the NBA. One of the best passing bigs in the league, if not the best passing big in the league.
He has to be maybe second to Gasol as far as centers go.
Yeah, I would say, and he's really stepped it up since Dang went out. And well, I mean, he's played a lot of his career without Rose, but he's really stepped it up this year and shown that he's the heart of that Chicago Bulls team.
Yeah, just looking at his numbers, he's averaging 7 assists a game for February, and for January he was averaging 6.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's 7 feet tall.
Stuff. Yeah,
it's insane. And people talk about how good the Bulls are and how they'll always have a good record and how they always seem to have a good record, and they attribute that to Thibodeau.
It's Noah.
And yeah, I mean, it's about the players on the court. And he's been basically the only constant. He's great.
He's not going to score much points, but he always brings the effort and the hustles and the intangibles.
Mm-hmm. And he's gotten a lot better at scoring than he did. I mean, he was a terrible scorer when he first entered the league, but he's a good player, a really, really good player, and he can facilitate out to Melo if Melo does decide to come. I think that could be a top big 3 in the NBA, and I think that would be the perfect situation for him, for a guy like Melo who needs the ball taken out of his hands a little bit to temper him.
I'd like to see him go to Chicago over staying in New York or even LA.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so next question is from Buff Rust Peck, our friendly neighborhood. Buff Rust Peck. If you were the commish and had ultimate power, what would you do? AKA, do you think the NBA season draft system and playoff format is broken? Hint, it is. What's your take?
All right, thank you for answering it, Buff. What would I change? I'd change the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to 2 divisions back to how it used to be. I'd have a Central and a Atlantic, Midwest, and Pacific. Call it a day, because the Atlantic division's a joke right now, and to have one of those be a top 4 seeds is just. I mean, even though Toronto does have one of the better records, I don't want it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason that works in the NFL is because there are less games, so you don't get to play every team in the league, and the less teams make the playoffs. And that's one of the first things that I would cut is over half the teams in the NBA make the playoffs. That's too much for me. So I would give it. I'd sort of make it similar to the NFL. I'd give the first 2 seeds a bye in each conference. Have the 6th through 3rd seed battle it out, but make that a 5-game series. And so that gives the top teams a little bit more incentive to play through it. So it's a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, because the 1 through 8 matchup is usually terrible. Like this year,
Yeah.
Charlotte versus Indiana. Nobody's gonna watch that series.
Yeah,
unless
but
you're
on the
a
flip side, who's the 8th seed in the West right now?
Dallas.
You know, Dallas. Dallas versus whoever takes that. I mean, that could be an interesting series, and you do occasionally see upsets there, and especially lately. But with the 7-game series, you're not going to see them as often as you would in football, and it's just not that interesting. And if I'm a fan of an 8th seed team, I don't have much hope for the finals or for a championship, so I'm kind of stuck in limbo. And I'm bummed that maybe I didn't get a lottery pick.
I mean, the 1 through 8 isn't terrible in the West, but that's just because the West is overall better. Like,
Right.
I know people suggest going no conference and just the top 16 teams make it. I don't know how that works because of scheduling conflicts and whatnot, but
And that would make it hard because if you have, let's say, the LA Lakers face the LA Clippers, and then in one playoff series, and then in the next you've got the Kings versus the Knicks, so you got Sacramento versus New York, and then let's say the winner of those two series have to play each other. So the LA teams are going to have a big advantage there, and I think that that's a problem.
yep. As far as the draft, as far as the draft goes, I'd bump up the age, make it 20, maybe 21.
Okay. Oh, that's actually that's a question we're gonna answer in a little bit. So yeah, we'll delve into that in a few. What do you think of the lottery system?
The lottery system? I mean, I don't really. It's hard because it's not the greatest system, but I'm not sure what else would you replace it with.
I can tell you what we could replace it with. I've been preaching this forever. So, 16 teams in my version of the NBA, in Mark's paradise, 16 teams don't make it. So then what we would do there is have a single game elimination tournament where the worst team in the league would go up against the 16th way. I don't know if you can figure it out. But so there's a single game elimination, and then whoever wins that would be granted the first pick in the draft. So it encourages teams to always get better, so you don't necessarily have to tank to get a superstar prospect.
But I think that format would still encourage tanking. Like right now, if I'm Dallas and I'm the 8th seed,
yeah,
I tank to get into that tournament knowing that my team is better than most of these current teams that are not very good, and I'll take my chances for trying to get Embiid or Parker or Wiggins.
Yeah, well, yeah. So here's the other thing that you'd kind of have to do if this were the system. So you place whatever team wins the tournament gets the first spot, and then the rest are just laid out by record. So if you're Dallas and you do miss the playoffs, let's say intentionally, which I don't think teams have too much pride for that. I don't think that you're going to see maybe management, but then if it's obvious, I think you'll see some fans rebel. I think that it's and also because it's a one-game series, that's what makes the NFL so exciting, and that's why you see so many upsets. And it would bring that same sort of excitement because you would see the upsets. It's not a 7-game series. The best team doesn't always win, so it'd be a really risky thing to try to miss that playoff series. And with only 6 teams, it gives you a better shot at doing some damage in the playoffs.
So would you hold it after the finals or before the finals?
I would say I would also cut 10 games out of the NBA season. 82 is, I think, too much. And
Post All-Star break, I'm always burnt out.
I would say before the playoffs. I would say before the playoffs, while the four top seeds are resting, and then the other teams have the 5-game series going.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm a smart guy.
Yeah,
Commissioner Letourneau coming in 5 years. All right. So, do you have any more thoughts on that?
Dope. We could go to the next one.
All right, next one. A-Wins41 asks, what will the Pistons do with Smith Monroe in the offseason? Well, it's Joe Dumars, so they'll probably give him extensions. But what they should do is trade Monroe. He doesn't quite fit with Drummond, although I'm not high on Josh Smith myself. I would trade Monroe because I think that you can get a good haul back for him. Try to get rid of Jennings, land a good point guard. Rondo seems like a natural pick because he's on the market, but you don't want more guys that can't shoot.
Yeah, I don't think Rondo. You'd go with Rondo, Smith, and Drummond.
Oh my God, that's a nightmare. Yeah.
I don't think they could trade Jennings. I don't know the numbers, but they signed him up long term, and he's not very good. I don't know who'd trade for him. Maybe the Knicks. Maybe Billy King would trade for him.
But everyone knew that he wasn't good, even before the trade. Who thought that this was a good idea? Joe Dumars. Joe Dumars. There we go.
I don't know how he's not fired.
You know what? If they had a second GM,
it's maybe because of legacy.
Yeah. Well, if they could use Joe Dumars as a consultant, maybe, and just ask for his opinion, and then whatever he says, do the opposite. Championship in 5 years.
I mean, he did a good job getting Drummond and Monroe. They don't fit, but he got talent with those two guys.
And you have to give him credit for the championship teams. And what was going through your mind when he signed Villanueva and Ben Gordon those few years ago?
I mean, both of those they were like decent players at the time, but it didn't make sense because neither of those guys were going to help you contend.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't make sense to me either. But I sort of thought he had a plan there, especially with the way that the last Pistons team was constructed, because that was beautiful. I mean, that was he could have been Michelangelo for that period of time. And that team was a piece of art.
I think he was gunning for the same thing, and it just didn't pan out.
Yeah, well, I think they were trying to build around Rodney Stuckey, and Rodney Stuckey is shitty. So
I mean, he's actually
there
doing
you go.
All right this year as a six-man.
Rodney Stuckey's shitty as your cornerstone, and they were trying to sort of mold him into a new Billups.
I can't believe they traded Billups for Stuckey.
Yeah,
to keep Stuckey. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Gotta love Joe Dumars.
Joe Dumars.
And it's not even just the players; the coaches he hires, they all suck.
I
mean. You keep on firing coach after coach after coach. Owner needs to evaluate, look at Dumars, and just maybe he's not the guy.
Yeah, it's interesting that he still has a job. Although I would never want him to leave just for comedic purposes. So I really enjoy seeing what he's going to do next.
We still have Billy King for that.
We
So still have Dolan. We'll still have comedy in the NBA.
Even if Dumars leaves, we'll have some backup. All right, last question. You kind of got into this a little bit earlier. What are your guys' thoughts on Silver thinking about raising the age limit to... Oh, actually, I forgot to mention who the Pistons question was asked by. It's A-Wins41. So thank you for the question, A-Wins. Anyway, guys' thoughts on Silver thinking about raising the age limit to 20 by J. Lucas 1823.
I am all for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many scrubs in the NBA, and a lot of them are like young scrubs who are just doing nothing right now.
Yeah.
Marcus Teague, I don't know why he came out. He should have stayed in college. Shabazz Muhammad, why are you in the NBA? I don't know. Daniel Orton was a first-round pick. He played like 6 minutes a game in Kentucky. How did that happen?
But that's on the GMs. That's not on the players for coming. I feel like if a 19-year-old wants to come out, he should be able to.
You have to protect the GMs from themselves.
Yeah, you have to protect the Joe Dumars of the leagues from. But here's the thing. The reason the NFL has the age at where it is, the reason senior out of high school can't come out and immediately play in the NFL is because 18-year-olds aren't physically able to compete with those guys. And it's the same thing in the MLB. These guys just, their bodies aren't developed enough to be able to play there. And I don't think you have the same issue in the NBA.
I think with big men you do. I don't think most high school bigs are ready.
Most high school bigs aren't ready, but they're not going to get hurt out there. And there's some huge high school guys. I mean, Drummond could have played, a backup big in the NBA in high school. I mean, the guy's a monster physically. But you see guys who aren't super strong, like Kevin Durant, arguably the best player in the league this season. And he was a monster his rookie year. I mean, he's gained a lot of strength since then, kind of the wiry strength. But even when he couldn't bench press 180 pounds, I mean, he could score. And I don't think that it's as dangerous to allow younger players to enter. And by doing that and saving the GMs, sure, but you're also keeping these kids from a paycheck.
You are keeping them away from, like, you look at guys like Bismack Biyombo, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, like, they're like so, like, they're raw talents, and
really
you're
raw,
waiting on them, and when they could have been in college just refining their craft.
But do we have to baby them and tell them that they have to stay for a second year?
I feel like there's no other choice, so it's just going to continue the trend of you drafting unproven talent, all these unproven commodities.
Yeah, but sometimes that works, and I think that that's kind of the gamble that you take through the draft. Yeah, I think that that's on the GM, and I think that the player should be able to come out if he wants to.
Maybe further improve the D-League system, try to make it more like a minor league type scenario.
Yeah, I think that would be great. It wouldn't work now just because of the culture. Because when you go to a college and you have all these sorority girls all over you, you're a celebrity basically.
Yeah.
And you go to the D-League and nobody knows who you are, and nobody comes to your games.
Small town cities.
Not fun. Yeah, I've heard plenty of D-League horror stories.
Care to share one?
Not off the top of my head, sorry. But yeah, so I disagree with that. And you, so you're still sticking to the 20 years old?
Yeah, before, because it's just it wouldn't be that much worse one more year, but I think it'd help along overall with the product.
All right, so that's the end of our podcast. Let us know what you think. And if you have questions, we'll be sending tweets out. We'll be putting threads up. So thank you, and good night.